They say money can buy anything. Private jets, luxury bunkers, even offshore secrets. But apparently, it can't buy unhackable passwords. Sometimes all it takes is a fake email, a coffee shop Wi-Fi, or a 17-year-old in a basement to prove that even billionaires aren't immune to hackers. Today, we're looking at 10 times hackers hacked the 1%. Jeff Bezos' phone hack. In 2018, the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, was hacked through WhatsApp. The message came from none other than Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. It was a seemingly friendly exchange between two powerful men. Then came the video. Bezos, founder of Amazon and owner of The Washington Post, had been casually chatting with MBS on WhatsApp. But on May 1st, MBS's account sent a single video file. Bezos opened it. Forensic investigators later determined it was highly probable that the clip carried spyware, software that silently ransacked his phone, siphoning off massive amounts of data within hours. This wasn't a low-level cyber stunt. This was elite espionage. Bezos, whose company manages some of the most secure cloud systems on Earth, was breached through a personal message. The timing? Terrifying. Months later, Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, a vocal critic of the Saudi regime, was murdered by Saudi operatives. Not long after, Bezos' private texts, exposing an affair, were leaked to a tabloid, detonating his public divorce. Bezos' team believed it was all connected, a foreign state weaponizing his own phone against him. United Nations experts backed the theory, publicly urging an investigation. Saudi Arabia denied involvement, but cyber forensics suggested the spyware used required nation-state capabilities. Who would have believed that one WhatsApp message from a prince could detonate the life of a tech titan? Even Bezos, with an army of cybersecurity at his disposal, wasn't immune to being hacked. The whole Bezos breach revealed how personal and political elite cyber warfare could get. But not all hacks target secrets. Some aim to expose them. Now, let's look at the time when Hollywood messed with the wrong guy. Hey, this one is a hack straight out of a spy thriller. In November 2014, a group calling itself Guardians of Peace gutted the computer network of Sony Pictures Entertainment, a studio chaired by billionaire executives. They leaked thousands of private emails, unreleased films, and salaries, then issued an ultimatum. Pull your new movie that mocks our dear leader, or else. The movie was The Interview, a comedy about assassinating Kim Jong-un. The breach had been months in the making, resulting in 100 terabytes of data siphoned. Then came the detonation. Employees arrived at flickering screens and a message from the GOP hackers. Soon, the hackers dumped troves of embarrassing emails, Hollywood producers insulting A-list actors' talents and looks, executive pay, revealing gender pay gaps, and even full unreleased films onto the web. It was the worst breach of a media company in history. But the attackers' motive went beyond humiliation. They demanded Sony cancel The Interview's release, calling it an act of war against North Korea. The invaders even threatened 9/11-style violence at theaters if the comedy premiered. Major theater chains panicked and pulled out. Under pressure, Sony initially canceled the film's debut, something virtually unheard of in Tinseltown. Well, it gets more interesting. U.S. intelligence pinned the attack on North Korean state hackers, a retaliation for the film's satire of Kim Jong-un. President Obama condemned the hack as cyber vandalism, and Sony eventually released the movie online and in limited theaters. But the damage was done. A top studio's secrets were laid bare, a CEO resigned in disgrace over leaked comments, and Hollywood learned that a foreign dictator could reach across the globe to smack its billion-dollar industry. That's strange. But what comes next is a shocking incident that proves even biggest companies on Earth aren't safe from sabotage. In mid-2009, Google spotted something terrifying. Spies had slipped in through the digital backdoor. This wasn't some rogue hacker. This was Operation Aurora, a covert cyber campaign later linked to China's military. The intruders weren't chasing money. They were after something far more dangerous: Google's source code and access to Gmail accounts belonging to Chinese human rights activists. Over several months, state-backed hackers silently infiltrated dozens of U.S. companies: Adobe, Juniper Networks, Morgan Stanley, and more. But Google was the crown jewel. When Google uncovered the breach in December 2009, it wasn't just a security incident, it was a global warning shot. In January 2010, the tech giant did something almost unheard of. It went public. Google called out China directly and announced it would stop censoring search results, implying it might exit the country entirely. The diplomatic fallout was immediate. US investigators traced the attack to Beijing-linked actors, sparking new tensions between the US and China. For Silicon Valley, Operation Aurora shattered the illusion of safety. Even the biggest, richest tech companies were fair game when a cyber superpower came knocking. It wasn't just espionage, it was a power play, and it marked the start of a new era, one where geopolitical warfare could unfold quietly through code. Google's standoff with China was about surveillance and suppression, but just a few years later, state-sponsored hacking would go even darker. In the summer of 2017, a sleek 152-foot yacht called Lady May drifted dangerously in New York's Hudson River, its steering suddenly disabled. On board was exiled Chinese billionaire Guo Wengui, also known as Miles Kwok, a real estate tycoon turned political dissident. What looked like a near-miss maritime mishap, Guo claimed, was something far more sinister, a cyber attack from Beijing. Once entrenched in China's elite circles, Guo had fled to the US, lobbing corruption accusations at top Communist Party officials. In return, he said, the regime retaliated, not with lawsuits or spies, but with electronic warfare. According to Guo, Lady May suffered multiple incidents of mysterious system interference. The worst occurred when the yacht's navigation controls glitched near a busy shipping lane, sending it into the path of an oncoming freighter. The vessel, worth an estimated $28 million, was suddenly unable to turn. Guests and crew scrambled in panic. Guo didn't think it was a technical glitch. He believed Chinese state-backed hackers had hijacked his yacht remotely, a high-tech flex to show that no amount of wealth could shield him from their reach. He claimed they wanted him to know they could get him anytime, anywhere. The FBI reportedly looked into the incident, though hard evidence remains elusive. Unsurprisingly, Beijing denied any involvement. Still, Guo was convinced that he knew who he was dealing with, and they were willing to cross oceans and digital firewalls for revenge. Whether a real cyber strike or an unnerving coincidence, the incident was a warning. Even on a $28 million yacht in the middle of Manhattan, you might not be out of reach. While Guo's yacht scare made headlines, the next billionaire's hacking experience was surprisingly better, but not in the way you'd expect. How do you get the attention of a billionaire who won't return your calls? For one hacker, the answer was right on his wall, literally. In 2013, Mark Zuckerberg woke up to find a stranger's message posted on his private Facebook timeline. A Palestinian IT researcher, Khalil Shriate, had exploited a Facebook bug to hijack Zuck's own page, publicly exposing a gaping security flaw. Here's where it got crazy. Khalil had discovered a vulnerability that let him post to anyone's wall, even without being friends. First, he reported it to Facebook's White Hat bug bounty program, but the security team brushed him off, replying, "Sorry, this is not a bug." Frustrated and desperate to prove his point, Khalil went for the nuclear option. He used the bug to post on Mark Zuckerberg's timeline, saying in polite English, "Sorry for breaking your privacy, but I had no other choice." The world's social media mogul had just been schooled on his own site. Millions saw the proof of concept message before it was removed. The move violated Facebook's disclosure policies, so they fixed the bug, but refused to give Khalil a bounty reward. Yet, the hacker community crowdfunded over $10,000 to compensate him, hailing his gutsy approach. So, yeah, Zuckerberg got a taste of his own medicine on privacy, and Facebook learned not to ignore the little guys with big warnings. Facebook's wall was patched, and Zuckerberg's privacy was restored for a while. But a few years later, the social media titan would be embarrassed again, this time by his own lax security habits. Even tech billionaires can have terrible passwords. In 2016, Mark Zuckerberg's Twitter and Pinterest accounts were hacked by a group called OurMine. Their secret weapon? An old, leaked password? Da-da-da? That's right. The CEO of Facebook was using something that sounds like a baby's first keyboard mash. Years earlier, a massive LinkedIn breach exposed 117 million usernames and passwords. Among them, Zuckerberg's. Our mine grabbed his info, tried the same weak password on other platforms, and boom, it still worked. His long-dormant Twitter suddenly came to life with a strange tweet. "You were in the LinkedIn database. DM for proof." On Pinterest, things got cheekier. His page was renamed Hacked by Our Mine Team. And just to twist the knife, the hackers offered to help him improve his security, for a fee, of course. The irony was brutal. Here was the founder of Facebook, constantly urging users to protect their accounts, caught reusing a laughably weak password. Cybersecurity experts had a field day. No two-factor authentication, no unique logins, just da-da-da across multiple platforms. Zuckerberg regained control quickly. Facebook claimed his Instagram was safe, despite Our Mine's bragging. But the damage was done. For a moment, the all-powerful tech titan looked very, very human. It was a viral reminder. You're only as secure as your laziest password. And if it can happen to Zuck, it can happen to anyone. Up until now, it was lone hackers making headlines. But things are about to escalate. Next up, a data leak so massive, it cracked open the secret activities of global billionaires. The leak revealed how 140 politicians and public officials, along with celebrities and billionaires, funneled money into the shadows. The fallout was immediate. Iceland's prime minister resigned. Putin's inner circle was exposed. Chinese Communist Party elites were implicated. Even the family of UK Prime Minister David Cameron wasn't spared. For the global 1%, this was a nightmare. Their hidden wealth sprawled across international front pages. Mossack Fonseca claimed the data was illegally obtained by hackers. They eventually shuttered under public pressure. Governments launched hundreds of investigations, recovering millions in unpaid taxes. But the real impact was psychological. The illusion of financial invisibility had been shattered. John Doe, still unidentified, released a manifesto condemning global inequality and calling for radical transparency. The Panama Papers proved that a single digital breach, executed with precision, could shake global elites to their core. And just 1 year later, it happened again. Another data leak, this time the Paradise Papers, unleashed a second wave of revelations, proving the wealthy weren't done hiding. In late 2017, another digital bombshell detonated, the Paradise Papers. This time, 13.4 million files, about 1.4 terabytes, were leaked from the elite offshore law firm Appleby and other financial providers. If the Panama Papers was a cannon shot, this was the second volley, aimed squarely at the global elite's hidden wealth. The names were staggering. Queen Elizabeth's private estate, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, Bono, Madonna, Apple, Nike. The documents revealed the intricate web of offshore trusts, shell companies, and creative tax dodges used by the world's wealthiest individuals and corporations. Appleby, a 119-year-old firm based in Bermuda, later admitted it had been hacked in 2016. The attackers made off with emails, trust records, and confidential client files, essentially the financial DNA of the 1%. In November 2017, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ, began publishing exposés. Embarrassment followed quickly. The Queen's Duchy of Lancaster had secretly invested in Cayman Islands funds. Ross had ties to a Russian firm under U.S. sanctions. Major tech firms were stashing billions overseas using opaque loopholes. Appleby tried to spin it. They claimed journalists were cherry-picking context, but the damage was done. Their vault of secrets had been cracked open and broadcast worldwide. Unlike the Panama Papers, this leak caused fewer resignations, but the pressure was real. Investigations were launched, tax reform debates reignited. The public saw, yet again, that financial privacy for the ultra-rich is often just a facade, vulnerable to a smart, determined hacker with a conscience. 2 years, 2 leaks, and 2 elite law firms were left powerless to stop the truth from leaking through their firewalls. But not every hacker is after secrets. Some want destruction. This one went straight for the digital heart of the world's wealthiest oil empire. 2. The Day of Judgment. Saudi Aramco versus the Shamoon virus. On August 15, 2012, Saudi Aramco, the oil titan that fuels the fortunes of Saudi Arabia's royal family, was blindsided. In just hours, over 30,000 computers were wiped clean. Screens flickered off or showed a burning American flag. The culprit, a destructive malware called Shamoon. Hackers dubbed it the Day of Judgment. And for Aramco, it was just that. The $2 trillion company, responsible for 10% of the world's oil, was suddenly paralyzed. Data was shredded, servers crashed, and employees were forced back to fax machines and typewriters. Roughly 3/4 of Aramco's computers were rendered useless. Office life ground to a halt. The timing wasn't random. Tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran were at a boiling point, and many pointed fingers at Iranian hackers operating under the alias Cutting Sword of Justice. Their goal wasn't profit, it was punishment. The hack was a cyber gut punch aimed straight at the Saudi economy. Aramco's digital backbone collapsed. Oil shipping documents had to be typed manually. It was a staggering, humiliating setback for the world's wealthiest oil producer. While oil production itself wasn't affected, thanks to Aramco's air-gapped industrial systems, the company had to replace tens of thousands of hard drives. The recovery cost tens of millions and exposed just how fragile digital infrastructure could be, even inside one of the richest corporations on Earth. Shamoon didn't stop there. It resurfaced in later years, hitting other Gulf entities, confirming it as a go-to cyber weapon for Iran-linked actors. But to this day, it's still weird that a nation's economic jugular could be slashed open by a few lines of code. And not even the billionaires sitting atop the world's oil throne were immune. While you're still wrapping your head around that digital nightmare, brace yourself for number one, a shocking moment when Twitter got hijacked by a teenager. What did he want? Not fame, not revenge, just a quick crypto payday. And he nearly brought down the platform to get it. On July 15, 2020, Twitter went haywire. The official verified accounts of Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Apple, Kanye West, and even Barack Obama all started tweeting the same bizarre message: "Send me Bitcoin, and I'll send back double." It was clearly a scam, but it came from the real accounts of the world's most powerful people. For a few surreal hours, Twitter wasn't just hacked, it was hijacked, with scammers using billionaire profiles to lure in victims. This wasn't your average phishing attempt. The attackers had God mode access to Twitter's internal systems. At the center of it all was a 17-year-old from Florida, Graham Ivan Clark, who orchestrated a slick social engineering attack. By tricking or bribing a Twitter employee, he and his crew accessed the company's admin panel, basically the control room behind the curtain. From there, they reset email addresses, took over accounts, and launched the most high-profile crypto scam in social media history. In total, 130 accounts were targeted. Tweets from billionaires and brands offered a too-good-to-be-true Bitcoin deal. Send $1,000, get $2,000 back. And people fell for it. Within minutes, over $120,000 in Bitcoin landed in the scammer's wallet. But money wasn't the only prize. They also accessed private DMS, potentially peeking into conversations of the global elite. Twitter, in full panic mode, froze all verified accounts from tweeting. The internet had never seen anything quite like it. Within weeks, the FBI arrested Clark and his 2 accomplices. Clark pled guilty and served a 3-year sentence. The breach exposed a gaping vulnerability in Twitter's internal security, one that forced the platform to adopt stricter safeguards. For the billionaires, it was just an embarrassing blip. But for everyone else, it was a reminder that even the most powerful platforms can be compromised by one insider with the right password. These stories aren't just about data breaches. They're about digital detonations capable of taking down the 1%. So, are you interested in more untold stories of power and downfall? Then give that like button a hit, and make sure you're subscribed. The next story might just top this one.